The land of Egypt shimmered under a golden sun, its vast desert stretching endlessly, a testament to the grandeur of the ancient civilization. But a shadow had fallen upon the hearts of its Hebrew inhabitants, a shadow that darkened their days and haunted their nights. They were slaves, their lives ruled by the iron fist of Pharaoh, who saw them as mere tools for his grand constructions. Each day was a struggle, a relentless battle against exhaustion and despair. The Hebrews toiled under the scorching sun, their backs bent low with the weight of bricks and mortar, their hands calloused and bleeding. Their cries for mercy went unanswered, their pleas falling on deaf ears, as the overseers drove them harder. Their spirits, however, yearned for freedom, a freedom that seemed like a distant dream. They clung to the hope of a promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land where they could live in peace and prosperity, a land where their cries would be transformed into songs of joy, where their suffering would be replaced with celebration. Generations had lived and died under Pharaoh's cruel reign, each one passing down the hope of deliverance to the next. Their faith, however, remained unbroken, a beacon of light in their darkest hours. They whispered prayers to their God, a God who had promised them deliverance, a God who had not forgotten them. They knew, deep in their hearts, that a deliverer would come, someone who would lead them out of bondage. They waited, with unwavering faith, for their destiny to unfold, for the day when they would be free. For they served a God who had not forgotten them, a God who would fulfill his promise and lead them to the land of their dreams. Amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. A Hebrew woman, Jochebed, gave birth to a son. This was no ordinary child. She saw in his eyes a spark of destiny. But danger lurked everywhere. Pharaoh had decreed that all Hebrew baby boys be drowned in the Nile. Jochebed, driven by a mother's love, refused to let her son perish. She wove a basket of reeds, waterproofed it with pitch, and placed her precious baby inside. With a heavy heart, she set the basket adrift on the Nile River. The current carried the basket downstream towards an uncertain fate. Unbeknownst to Jochebed, her act of faith was guided by a divine hand, for her baby Moses was destined for greatness. The basket-carrying baby Moses drifted down the Nile, gently swaying with the current. It floated aimlessly until it reached the reeds by the riverbank, where it got caught among the tall grasses. There, Pharaoh's daughter, while bathing, discovered the basket. She was curious and cautiously approached it. Touched by his innocence and the sight of the helpless baby, she defied her father's decree, which ordered the death of all Hebrew male infants, and decided to adopt the child as her own. Moses grew up in the lap of luxury, surrounded by the opulence of the Egyptian palace, oblivious to his true heritage and the struggles of his people. But fate had other plans for him, plans that would soon unfold in the most unexpected ways. One day, while tending sheep in the wilderness, far from the grandeur of the palace, Moses stumbled upon a sight that changed his life forever. He saw an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew slave, the cries of the oppressed man echoing in the barren landscape. Overcome with rage and a sense of kinship he could not explain, Moses intervened, striking down the taskmaster in a moment of righteous fury. This act of defiance revealed his true identity to himself. He was not just a member of the royal household. He was no Egyptian prince but a Hebrew by birth, a member of the oppressed people he had just defended. He was Moses, a Hebrew, destined to liberate his people from the chains of slavery and lead them to freedom. Fleeing from Pharaoh's wrath, Moses sought refuge in the vast wilderness. It was there, on the desolate slopes of Mount Horeb, that he encountered the divine. A bush burned before him, yet it was not consumed. From the heart of the flames, a voice boomed. It was the voice of God calling Moses to lead his people out of slavery. Moses, filled with trepidation, questioned his worthiness, but God reassured him, promising to be with him every step of the way. Armed with God's divine mandate, Moses returned to Egypt. The shepherd, once lost in the wilderness, now walked with the fire of a prophet, ready to confront Pharaoh and demand the freedom of his people. His journey of faith had begun. Section 5. Egypt's Anguish Unleashing the 10 Plagues. Moses, with Aaron by his side, stood before Pharaoh. They delivered God's message, "Let my people go." Pharaoh, his heart hardened by pride, refused. Thus began a battle of wills, a clash between the God of Israel and the might of Egypt. God unleashed 10 plagues upon Egypt, each more devastating than the last. The Nile ran red with blood, swarms of locusts darkened the sky, boils and sores afflicted the Egyptians. Yet Pharaoh remained unmoved. With each plague, Pharaoh's resolve hardened, and the suffering of his people increased. But God, in his infinite wisdom, used these trials to demonstrate his power and to pave the way for the ultimate deliverance of the Israelites. Section 6. A Leap of Faith. The Miraculous Crossing of the Red Sea. This is one of the most iconic and miraculous events in the history of the Israelites, a moment that would be remembered for generations to come. Finally, after the 10th and most devastating plague, the death of the firstborn, Pharaoh relented. The cries of mourning echoed through the grand halls of the Egyptian palace, and Pharaoh, overwhelmed by grief and loss, finally allowed the Israelites to leave. The Israelites, guided by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, started their exodus from Egypt. This divine guidance was a constant reminder of God's presence and protection as they journeyed through the harsh and unforgiving desert. But Pharaoh, his heart once again hardened, pursued them with his army. The sight of the Egyptian chariots racing across the desert struck fear into the hearts of the fleeing Israelites. The Israelites, trapped between the Red Sea and the approaching Egyptians, cried out in fear. Their desperation was palpable as they faced what seemed like an insurmountable obstacle. Moses, with unwavering faith, raised his staff and stretched his hand over the sea. His trust in God's promise was unshakable, even in the face of such overwhelming odds. The waters parted, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross. The sight was nothing short of miraculous. With towering walls of water standing on either side, they walked through the sea on dry ground, a testament to the awesome power of God. Each step they took was a step towards freedom, away from the chains of slavery that had bound them for so long. As the last of the Israelites reached the other side, the waters crashed down, engulfing Pharaoh and his army. The Israelites were free. Their journey to the Promised Land had begun, and this miraculous event would forever be a cornerstone of their faith and history. Section 7. Laws etched in stone. Receiving the 10 Commandments. Their exodus complete, the Israelites journeyed towards the Promised Land. They wandered through the wilderness, tested and refined by their trials. It was during this time that God revealed his divine law to Moses on Mount Sinai. The 10 Commandments, etched in stone, became the foundation of their faith and their covenant with God. These commandments, a beacon of morality and justice, transcended time and place. They served as a testament to God's unwavering love and his desire for his people to live in harmony and righteousness. The 10 Commandments became a guiding light, not just for the Israelites, but for all of humanity. Moses, the shepherd who had encountered God in the burning bush, led his people to the very edge of the Promised Land. He never entered it himself, but his life and legacy resonated through generations. He was a prophet, a leader, a lawgiver, and a liberator. Moses' story is a testament to the power of faith and the unwavering love of God. He showed us that even in the darkest of times, hope can bloom. His life is a reminder that God can use ordinary people to achieve extraordinary things. His legacy continues to inspire us, reminding us that with faith, courage, and obedience to God's will, we too can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles and achieve our own personal exodus. The story of the Exodus is not merely an ancient tale. It is a timeless narrative that continues to resonate with people from all walks of life. It speaks to the human spirit's innate yearning for freedom, for liberation from oppression, and for a life filled with purpose and meaning. The Exodus reminds us that the struggle for freedom is ongoing. It is a struggle that manifests itself in countless ways throughout history and across cultures. We see echoes of the Exodus in the fight for civil rights and the pursuit of social justice, and in the individual battles we face against our own personal pharaohs, be it addiction, fear, or despair. Each of us embarks on our own personal exodus throughout our lives. We face challenges, confront our fears, and strive to break free from the things that hold us captive. The story of Moses promised land, a place of peace, fulfillment, and spiritual wholeness. This promised land is not merely a geographical location, but a state of being, a destination to strive towards throughout our lives. As we navigate the challenges of life, let us remember the enduring lessons of the Exodus. Let us embrace faith, courage, and unwavering faith.